uh, yeah, you're going to learn about how fast a virus operates, how fast it spreads, and you'll learn at a very high rate of speed when you go into Alcoholics Anonymous. I was just listening to a guy by the name of Snyder, Professor Snyder, that wrote a book called Tyranny. Okay, and how they label and brand things and sell you things. It's a propaganda machine. That's what it is. It's the same thing over and over again, over and over again, over and over again, over and over again, until it implodes, it goes nova. It's a vampire without an off switch. And it doesn't take very long to figure that out when as soon as you come in here. You're in a closed loop system that is finite. Okay? And so when you go into an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, that's a casualty, that's a trauma center. That's why I went in there. Because this is where you get honest with yourself. Because you're dealing with energy. It's not what you look like. It's the radiation that is communicating to you. And now you're experiencing their stories. That's what everybody does in those meetings. We share our stories, how we arrived here. And you begin to learn really fast what happened to them, what happened to you, what happened to you, what happened to you, what happened to you. And they're all different stories. How I fell, how I fell, how I fell, how I fell, how I fell. That's called a bottom. When you hit bottom, that's what it's called in Alcoholics. You hit bottom. Man, there's only one way up from this. Okay, and what's that called? Recovery, which is recover your fire. You're no longer cold as ice. You're not a cold-blooded killer. You're not a universe killer anymore. That's crystal recovery. That's Crystal Sophia. That's when king and queen become what? I am what? I'm Anawaya. So you see, I'm sort of monitoring the circuit. So people are waking up and realizing, exposing the system for what it is. As a trap. It's a game trap. Pay to play attention. Pay attention to the gamers. Provide the electrical power for all the gamers. The gamers are the game traps. That's why they're always selling Google apps. You want to run an app? Go run somebody else's software. Now you're running their programs. Hey, get your program here, get your program here, get your program here. That's why they do it. They need the electrical power. And that's called an electrical transaction between one and the other. So when you're in a closed loop system that is finite, there's only one result. See ya. That's why we're here, which is retrieval. Pulling in soul fragments that are shattered. That's what it does. That's what a directed energy weapon does. So if you put it into the waste stream, all you have to do is add up all the neurological, radiological, biological, and chemical weapons that everyone is exposed to. And that's burn time. So you've got to have a lot of fire to burn all that off. And what is the shortest speed possible? Godseed. Godseed mapping speed, pre-light. Wow. That's eternal fire. That is the core. That's Imanawaya. So it's just like Annabelle said to me a couple weeks ago. It's like a spoiled brat it's obsessed with playing games. And it's killing itself off. That's exactly right. That's what it does. It doesn't know how to turn itself off and stop fighting against others. Because obsessed with winning numbers. It's just like an alcoholic. One drink is too many. 1,000 is never enough. One yacht is too many. 1,000 is never enough. A gazillion is never enough. It'll never be happy. It doesn't know how to be happy. It doesn't know how to be in a state of love and joy. The phone line went dead. Lost its connection. Dial 0. God source is always listening. That music is always playing. It plays in my heart that goes on forever. That's why it's a 12-step program, 12 spheres. The brilliance of 3 and the brilliance of 2 4 squares. Wow, that's a lot of fire. You better believe it is. When you're mated, 2 becomes 1, 1 becomes all. That's a blast furnace. And you want to be a blast furnace. And when you're a blast furnace, what are you doing? You're burning it off. Just fry it. It's gone. I don't even remember it. It's not in my memory anymore. Because there isn't any past. There isn't any future. And there never has been. That's a state of eternal being. That's an eternal sun. I'm always at home. Welcome home. So everywhere love is, you are. Everywhere you are, love is. And that's basic logic. That's how you know one from the other. That isn't logic. It's not logical. It's not logic that it would do that to itself. Why would anything be killing itself up? Because it doesn't love itself. It doesn't have any feelings left. That's why we're here. Is to restore the feelings. What it feels like to be loved. What it feels like to be nurtured. What it feels like to bring yourself back to life again and feel alive again. I'm breathing again. Wow, I'm breathing the right plasma tones. Wow, I remember the 1. I remember the crystal core. I'm experiencing being loved again, just like Misha. Lit her up like an 8-day clock. Right? She felt that fire. I want that fire. That's like a warm, cuddly bear, teddy bear, huh? Yeah. Here, I'll put my arms around you. You feel warmer? You know, look directly in the eyes. They know who you are. You're a real one. You're a real sun. They look directly in your eyes and they're seeing the real sun, the eternal one. The first Camrai. Silgo made a Riche. They can see it in their own eyes, whether they're open or closed. Wow. Yeah. Now they remember the 1. Now they're breathing as 1. That's restoration. That's recovery of your power. So he talked about electrical transactions, about what freedom is, the freedom to not be with somebody else. To be free of not being with them. And he did a great job about knowing one from the other. I don't want to be with them. I don't think I want to be with them. Like boundaries. Hey, when there's no boundaries, no dimensions, no density. I know, Mama. I'm just having fun. Powerful days are here again. Happy trails are here again. I know, because I'm experiencing. I'm getting the comms. I'm experiencing the communications coming back to me through the eternal sun and the local sun and all the suns that communicate. All the suns communicate to all the other suns. All the neurons communicating to other neurons. The speed of transmission. That's a lot of communication going on between neurons. How much are you aware of? That depends. I can't be aware of that much happening at once, but I'm aware of what I am, and that's what matters. Which is no matter. Silence. No sound. Wow. So you're everywhere at once simultaneously. Yep, because there isn't any time. There's only what love is. That's what I am. That's why I'm here, is to restore memory. The eternal one. And that is an eternal gift. That's an eternal blessing. So thank you, Mr. Snyder, for putting that that video. It caught my attention. But when I saw it, I didn't know if I was going to listen to it. I haven't even finished listening to this guy yet. But certainly he makes reference to 1492, the number 13. Okay. And that's easily translatable when you put it into the context of number 408, and AD is like Anunnaki domination, or just Anno dominate, dominators, controllers. And that's why the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, if you go up in the 3rd edition, start around page 444, like 12, and there's a great description about expectations, about control over others, how that originates and what happens as a result of that. When we talk about the serenity prayer, grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That prayer is in every room. There is wisdom in those rooms. There is recovery in those rooms. That's why it's a recovery program. You don't have to be an alcoholic or a drug addict to go in and recover going into one of those rooms. You'd be surprised what you learn in there. You will learn really fast how to recover. That's why I went in there, because that's what happened. I experienced the result of that, which is a cellular analysis. It's like putting the rest of the world on a timeout. That rest of that world doesn't exist anymore. What's going on right now is focus. Can I focus on my memories? How did I arrive here? How did I get to this point? Right? I want to go home. I'm returning home. I'm done with that. That's not who I am. I'm not trying to kill myself off. That's why the day that I went into Alcoholics Anonymous, it wasn't my first time, but it wasn't a mathematical coincidence either, that it happened on January 6th, 1992. That's called a birthday, a homecoming. Yep. So you can tie that to the history that Ashiana and the freedom programs, the MCEO workshops, made reference to 1992, the importance of that year as it relates to numbers, like an ISP address, or nodes, like lymph nodes, spinning codes, spinning nodes, spinning software codes, mathematical electrical communication codes, and the speed at which you're making translations across the entire 15D grid, and the speed at which you're restoring balance and cosmic law to experience cosmic love and cosmic music and cosmic rhythm, cosmic harmony, cosmic balance with the core, the absolute core, the still point. There's only one. That's eternity, which is pure, eternal, absolute love. Now I remember the one. That's restoring your speed, your spiritual hygiene. Now you're on fire again. So I think I'll go back and finish listening to what else he had to say. I already posted, when I thought about it, he talked about writing books. My God, I don't have time to do that because I'm already writing so many different books at the same time. If I was ever to put together everything that I was experiencing, I deleted more than I kept. Even though those are sound recordings. There used to be, but I'm going to try and do this with some laughter, but it's true. But I would hear other people when, in my early childhood, like when my father would say, when males, the male dominant side of gender, the penis dragon, wants to be more powerful, okay, than the receiver, okay. In other words, the seed, the laboratory, the female mitochondria. Okay, what comes next? What comes next? There's me, but I need another one in order to make another one after that. right? Like number 3. And why three spheres is critical. 3 flames, 3 spheres, to generate a rainbow sphere, an aurora, ya ya, imana ya. And so it's the mathematical sequences are just perfect, right on time, just right on time. So we're breathing right on time. So our breathing temperature is right on time, in perfect balance and a state of equal sharing. So I do a dance with a guy. I have fun with this. I have a mother in me that kicks my butt when the father side of me decides it wants to be more powerful. I know. So yeah, there is a mother in me, absolutely. See, so and that's I'm a humble servant. I'm a humble servant, and so the highest honor is to heal somebody. There's no other higher honor than I know of that. If I could show you all the letters that I wrote to Misha when she asked me to help her, I wrote her spirit just thousands and thousands and thousands of words every day, not only on paper, but into her window. I handed her a letter one time when I first got to her house and with her children. And I said, okay, let's do a benchmark. See where you're at in your heart. So I wrote her a love letter from my heart to her heart. And I don't remember how many pages it was. And she came back to me and she said, I love that. Okay, great. Okay. So she was able to translate that. And one of the great things I experienced after that with her, because she's trying to juggle so many different things at once because she's different people at the same time. Altars, right? The others don't. She doesn't know the others, and the others don't know her. Okay, so you're dealing with altars, and so it's you don't know which one you're going to get at any particular moment. Okay. And that's why when I was around her, balance was always there, because she knows she's in the presence of eternal love when she's in the presence of the one that lives in my heart forever. And so that allows her, because my waves are balanced. If hers aren't, they will when she's in my presence, and that will calm her down. Calm down. Calm down. You're in the presence of love energy. Be calm. Everything's going to be just fine. You're in a safe zone. You're in a safe zone. You're in a safe Bardo zone. For Christ's sake. For Christ's consciousness' sake. I could tell you beautiful stories of her and me. She'd sit in a bathtub completely stark naked when I'm sitting out there just on the couch. And it was just her and me in the house. And she had just gotten home from work, working as an accountant. She blew the whistle on them because they realized that at this cultural Hawaiian center on the island of Oahu, they were skimming money out of those accounts, much of which comes from donations, and people are putting money into that to maintain the cultural history of Lemurian people of those islands. And so one day she took me for a walk and she goes, "You're going to love this place." And I said, "Oh, really?" And when I walked up to where this waterfall was, I could not see another physical being. And then I was wrapped. I could feel the spirit grab me, the energy of spirit. And I looked at her and she looked at me. "You feel that?" "Oh, yes, I feel. I could live here. I could hang out with this spirit." "Sure, absolutely. I could hang out with this spirit. This is some powerful energy I'm hanging out with." Yeah. So this is good signs that she was sending me, see? As she used to tell me, my spirit is bent. I know it's bent. We know why it's bent. Let's unbend it so you can experience the spiral that I run, which is a crystal spiral. Because wherever I am, you're going to experience being loved. And she wanted that really bad. She called me 2 days ago. I felt her calling me. Okay. Wanting that fire. Okay? She hurts. She's suffering. That's what happens in Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. That's what step 12 is love and service to others that are still suffering, that need to heal. That's why they target healers. That's why the system targets powerful healers. Because that's one less battery that's now being siphoned off to run a loose farm and DNA breeding experiments that are not cosmic law. That's the truth of it. That's why we're here. That's why it's a cosmic clock reset. That changes everything. Everything. It just takes time. But there is no time. That's the illusion. Clear the illusion is clearing the field, which is clearing the lung field, which is fire. Turn the furnace up. Stoke the fire. Dance in spirit to the music we play as creative beings that are on fire to learn and on fire to create God's worst worlds. So every living life form is experiencing what I am, what love is, and that's cosmic law. That's why we're here. Restore the law, cosmic law. So have a beautiful evening, or wherever you just happen to be. Whatever time zone you're in, whatever. I'm a safe zone unit. The Unitai. Air-san. Salukaleaya to all of you. Muaveaya mama.